Welcome to Reparations News. Uh, I'm your host, Nazir Debar, and your own Billy Manuel. And I'm so excited to give you more news on reparations. Now, see, problem is that this work is so easy that a Caucasoid could do it. But the problem that we're having is that a lot of people uh, of the Brown persuasion assume that this type of work is highly impossible. So they hinder the progress of reparations by their lack of knowledge. You understand? So this is the simplest work you can possibly do in the history of mankind in order to raise the level of happiness in the society, right? It will repair mental anguish for a lot of people. So I'm going to start in the Biblios as I normally do. And it says right here, Proverbs 29:1, he that being often reproved, that's not the one I'm looking for. Proverbs 29:2 says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. When the wicked bears rule, the people mourn. Whoso loves wisdom rejoices his father, but he that keeps company with harlots spends his money. You see? That's how that works. So, America, as it stands right now, in this moment, is a harlot, right? The moment that you see a public apology from the current POTUS in the form of a photo op of him bowing on both knees for mocking the kneelers. The kneelers were mocked for the very last time by that clown that killed our great martyr, George Floyd. So the countless nameless deaths that we understand occur in the form of abortion, lynchings, biological warfare, things of that nature. Will soon be reconciled. When I say soon, I'm talking years, in the form of years. So that's important to understand as you learn this particular information and how to apply it to your local state, county, and city municipalities. So you take the blueprint of the locations that have got ahead of the game to be remembered on the right side of history. Asheville is going to go down as the first city in history in America. That is, because reparations have already occurred in other locations around the world. So, but it'll be the first city in America It's going to be written in all the history books that they're the first city in America to authorize reparations. California will soon be recognized as the very first state to recognize reparations. So, you know, it's important. That's going to make them look genius in the future. So, California legislative information bill text here says Bill AB 3121 task force to study and develop reparation proposals for African Americans. And like I told you when this news first broke, they gave the task, they assigned the task to the big boys in University of North Carolina, Berkeley, the smart guys. And so if they reach out to any of us, the people who have studied this for a long time, we could save them thousands of dollars in the form of time because we've already studied it. Date published 7/7/2020, 9 p.m. Amended in Senate July 7, 2020. California Legislature 2019 and 2020 regular session. Assembly Bill number 3121. Introduced by Assembly Member Weber. Co-authors are Assembly Members Bonta, Burke, Cooper, Gibson, Holden, John Sawyer, Cam Logger, McCarthy, Gonzalez. They forgot to remove the edit. Santiago and Wicks. Co-authors, Senators Bradford and Mitchell. February 21st, 2020. An act to add and repeal Chapter 4.5, commencing with Section 8301 of, they forgot to remove the edit, Division 1 of Title 2 of the Government Code relating to state government. Legislative Council's Digest. Let me get the correct term for that AB. Assembly Bill 3121 as amended. Weber. Task Force to study and develop reparation proposals for African Americans. Existing law requests the Regents of the University of I'm in North Carolina. Apologize. University of California to assemble a colloquium of scholars. I like that word, scholars. To draft a research proposal to analyze the economic benefits of slavery that accrued to owners and the businesses, including insurance companies and their subsidiaries that received those benefits, and to make recommendations to the legislature regarding those findings. Existing law requires the insurance commissioner to request and obtain information from insurers licensed and doing business in this state regarding any records of slaveholder insurance policies issued by any predecessor corporation during the slavery era. I want to take this time to say that when you noticed hundreds of CEOs stepping down from their companies and moving out of America, it was because they knew that this was inevitable. And they presumed that extremists, white identity extremists, are going to take action and cause another civil war because the wrong is finally being addressed and repaired. So that is the reason that so many step down at the same time. Same holds true in the banking industry, where so many bankers started killing themselves. Same holds true in the fraternity of police officers, where you had noticed hundreds of police officers around the country killing themselves. I mean, they have been doing that historically, but it's increased slightly because they know that reparations is due, and they fear the rulership of Black people or the empowerment of Black people. They think that we're going to get revenge. The likelihood of that is 100% because white identity extremists are going to go on the offensive as they do 100% of the time, and then we're going to be forced to defend ourselves. So that's going to cause a civil war that I've been trying to prevent for many years. But people they have ears, but they cannot hear. Existing law requires insurers to research and report to the commissioner on insurance policies that provide coverage for injury to or death of enslaved people. This bill would establish the task force to study and develop reparation proposals for African Americans who are descendants of persons enslaved in the United States, consisting of 8 members appointed as provided. The bill would require the task force to, among other things, identify, compile, and synthesize the relevant corpus of evidentiary documentation of the institution of slavery that existed within the United States and the colonies. The bill would require the task force to recommend, among other things, the form of compensation that should be awarded, the instrumentalities through which it should be awarded, and who should be eligible for this compensation. All you have to do is ask someone who has been teaching it for many years. For example, the professor that is a professor at UNC Chapel Hill and Duke University. His name escapes me right off the top of my mind. The bill would require the task force to submit, but then again, just a warning to that guy. I'm gonna need you to be very careful to tell them to cut the check instead of this madness that happened in Nashville where they're talking about investments. Investments is a step in the right direction. It's still madness. That check must be cut. I believe that the cities cannot afford to cut the check. So I'm playing devil's advocate, having not spoken to the city council of Nashville. So I'm looking from the outside in and presuming that a city cannot afford reparations in the form of monies, direct payments. So I think that's the understanding that goes along with cities. I'm not even sure that states can do that, but I can tell you this much, right? Since the mayors submitted information saying that they support reparations, and the governors have not followed suit. I think it's important that the mayors and the governors, uh, that the governors first acknowledge it and do it, and simultaneously submit those two um, declarations of reparations to His Imperial Majesty. So you guys remember, some of you guys in government are old enough to remember Villamor Marcos and the trouble that he got into by sending money to Russia. And then the powers that be assassinated him. So now the new guy, his son or grandson, I don't know which one he is, his son, Villamor Marcos IV, should not be assassinated in that way, right? And you guys have come to an agreement to where he has to pay your debts. I'm speaking directly to the Americans because the fuck? Hello? Yeah, what's that? Huh? What? You're in the chat. Okay, I'm in the show right now. I'm gonna come back there in a second. All right, so you gotta understand that, right? You guys did Villamor Marcos. I don't know the justification behind that. You know, I never studied that case to see why you guys assassinated him. Uh, but at the same time, I'm glad he protected our fortune. You understand? So I'm definitely going to be sending the information to him. So the leader of the governors should do the same, and the leaders of the Senate, and the leader of the Senate, the leader of the governors, the leader of the mayors, and the leader of the Senate, and the leader of the House, and the president, and the leader of the military, and I guess there is no leader of the Supreme Court, I suppose. But you all need to, uh, how many bodies that is, the leaders of all of those bodies uh, should submit your information directly straight to the New World Bank. Because I definitely do it all the time. And so I'm expecting to retrieve those monies. You understand? Because the people are in default, the banks are in default, and they're collecting the monies now. So it's inevitable. It's only a matter of time. You see, for those payments to go out. And I mean, all the big boys know that. I'm just here to bridge the information from the big boys to the audience, like just normal people. You understand? Like myself. You understand? So what we're currently in is it's called I think it's called like a currency reset or something like that, where they're zeroing out their books because they have a infinite debt that they cannot pay. So it would behoove Israelites around the world to submit your needs to my channel, so I can get it funnel your needs to Kanuju Club of New Jerusalem, and what we'll do is take your needs and get them funded by His Imperial Majesty out of the Philippines. It's now called Maharlika, Villamor Marcos' son. So Villamor Marcos IV, great guy. All right, so the bill would require the task force to submit a written report of its findings and recommendations to the legislature. The bill would authorize reimbursement of the members' expenses only to the extent an appropriation is made in the Budget Act. In the chat, maybe he's talking about the YouTube chat. Let's see. He's talking about the YouTube chat. Zero watching. No, he's not talking about the YouTube chat. Okay. That's pretty great. So let's mute this and get back on task here. And over here. Nope. Go back to the bill. Now I say the bill would authorize reimbursement of the members' expenses only to the extent an appropriation is made in the Budget Act. The bill would state that any state level reparations authorized under these provisions are not to be considered a replacement for any reparations enacted at the federal level. The bill would repeal these provisions on July 1st, 2023. You see? So now let's examine that sentence. The bill would state that any state level reparations authorized under these provisions are not to be considered a replacement for any reparations enacted at the federal level. You understand? So what a state gives you or what a city gives you is disconnected from what the federal government allows. So, you know, it's great healing going on, and this severely agitates white identity extremists somehow, as if our prosperity is going to damage their way of life. It's possible. I think what they're really afraid of is the same thing that Hollywood went into hiding for, that white identity extremists are connected to the pedophile, the Pizzagate, and the pedophile exposition that has been taking place here recently, and all the arrests that have been taking place and the suicides and stuff like that. So vote majority appropriation, no. Fiscal committee, yes. Local program, no. The people of the state of California do enact as follows. Section 1, Chapter 4.5, commencing with Section 8301, is added to Division 1 of Title 2 of the Government Code to read Chapter 4.5, Reparations for the Institution of Slavery, Article 1, Findings and Declarations. So, yeah, this is history in the making. That they're studying it, and the big boy lawmakers realize that when laws go into effect, there is 90% of the time there is a study before the law goes into effect. So they have to. This is just a formality that they must do this first in order to get the particulars and the specific culprits of slavery, and then to attack properly who needs to be attacked in order to recoup and repossess the theft and to redress the murders that took place. So, all of those people semi went into hiding as well. So there's mega mega farms that are, well, not mega farms, but mega estates that have been placed up for sale recently that have never been for sale ever. So there's a 47,000 acre estate in Georgia that was sold piece by piece the past year or so. And then now they're down to their last close to 13,000 acres. And that too is for sale. So where are these people going to move to? Where are they going to live? Are they all moving to the Ozarks? You understand? I don't, are they moving out of the country? Like, these people think that they can get away. I'm looking at, hey, the bad guy's getting away. He's getting away. You understand? So, like, you're allowing him to sell the property that he stole. You understand? And just because it's been in their family for 5 generations doesn't mean the first person didn't steal it and kill who was living there. How the fuck do you have, and why would you need 47,000 acres? You can't possibly see, the people who live there has not possibly seen every bit of that land. There's no way. I don't give a damn if you hike on your land every day. You're not gonna get around to seeing all 47,000 acres. That's a lot of land. Those guys are, and as a matter of fact, they're called it's called the Callaway plantation, the Callaway Ranch. I reached out to Dane Callaway a few days ago and told him that he want to recoup his land, and he never responded. You understand? So, real work is done behind the scenes, but I understand his documentaries sound very professional, so that's important. You understand? So, I often say things like, stop sounding smart and get smart and be smart. You understand? So you got to do work, behind the scenes in order to get these things to notify people of their default, and then you receive a summary judgment from a judge that they respect, and then you utilize the sheriff to recoup your land. You see, that's a very simple process, and that's not legal advice at all. It's just entertainment. I'm just telling you this for entertainment value. The legislature makes the following findings and declarations. More than 4 million Africans and their descendants were enslaved in the United States and the colonies that became the United States from 1619 to 1865, which is inclusive. All right, so the lie that there was only 400,000 Africans, wait, let me take a look here. Yeah, the lie that people often repeat, that I hear everywhere, there was only 400,000 slaves, and not everybody owned slaves. Okay, who cares, nigga? We're gonna find the niggas who did. So fuck you, get the fuck out the way before you wanna take their weight? Okay. The institution of slavery was constitutionally and statutorily sanctioned by the United States from 1789 through 1865 inclusive. The slavery that flourished in the United States constituted an immoral and inhumane deprivation of Africans' life, liberty, African citizenship rights, and cultural heritage, and denied them the fruits of their own labor. That was by design. The preponderance of scholarly, legal, and community evidentiary documentation, as well as popular culture markers, constitute the basis of inquiry into the ongoing effects of the institution of slavery and its legacy of persistent systemic structures, structures of discrimination on living African Americans and society in the United States. To this day, following the abolition of slavery, the United States government at the federal, state, and local levels continue to perpetuate, condone, and often profit from practices that continue to brutalize and disadvantage African Americans, including sharecropping, convicts, Jim Crow laws, redlining, unequal education, disproportionate treatment at the hands of the criminal justice system. As a result of the historic and continued discrimination, African Americans continue to suffer debilitating economic, educational, and health hardships, including but not limited to every bit of the following: having nearly 1 million Black people incarcerated, and an unemployment rate more than twice the current white unemployment rate, an average of less than 1/16 of the wealth of white families, a disparity that has worsened, not improved, over time. It is the purpose of this chapter to establish a task force that will do every bit of the following: study and develop reparation proposals for African Americans as a result of the institution of slavery, including both the transatlantic and domestic trade that existed from 1565 in colonial Florida and from 1619 to 1865. Now, the reason these dates are separated in this way, right? The reason these historicities occurred at different times like this is because you got to have 400-year periods in order to satisfy a sentence from the Most High. The Most High sentences in intervals of 40, 400, and multiples of 40. You see, so just like when David committed adultery, he lost the Ark of the Covenant for 40 years. And once the Israelites were released from Egypt, they remained in the wilderness for 40 years for being disobedient and being sluggish to do what the Most High was telling them directly to do. So, I pray all the time that the Most High stand right here, directly straight right here, and to my face and tell me to do something. When do you want it done, sir? I need everybody in the whole planet killed immediately. Yes, sir. Look, fortunate for you, the Most High is done with that madness. So he repented the first time he did it, when he killed everybody with water and preserved 8 people. When he repented, he restored us. So he showed us a rainbow that your friends have stolen from us. Showed us a rainbow and said, well, I won't destroy the world with water anymore because, you know, that was just, that was kind of harsh. So what I'm going to do in the future, I'm just going to kill everything with fire. So I don't own any missiles. I don't own any magic powers. See? So fortunately for you, I can't act out the scenario, the hypothetical scenario that I just described. See what I'm saying? So you can attempt to hold me accountable, but then that's just going to cause uh, a hastened retribution for me. You know, I can't wait to be restored. So give it your best shot. You see, the institution of slavery, including both of the transatlantic and domestic trade that existed from 1565. I told you that they were separated. 1565 and 1619. The Most High separated those two things because there were two different issues. The Northern Kingdom was already living in the United States, you see, before 1492, before the pedophile, what's that boy name? Columbus, Cristobal Colombo, brought his dumb ass over here and kidnapped thousands of kids. You know, that's their bread and butter. That's their bread and butter. That's what they like to do. So that's how they get their most money is kidnap kids. So that's why you see so many kids continuing to be missing, is because that's uh, an economy for colonial, for colonizers. But the reason that Most High separated those two events is because 1965 had to be the full restoration of one, and 2019 had to be the full restoration for another, because the Northern Kingdom and Southern Kingdom would need to dwell together in order to share a common experience that would cause Ephraim to no longer vex Judah, no longer have a disgust for Judites. You understand? So they had a long-standing hate against Judah because the Northern Kingdom were idolaters, and Judah used to bang on them often. You see what I'm saying? And then so the Northern Kingdom were Solomon loyalists. They were extremely loyal to Solomon, who built the idols for his wives, and that's how he fell into perdition, you see, and lost his throne. He was no longer king, and his children are not even regarded now. So they're probably more than likely, every last one of Solomon's children have been slaughtered throughout the many slaughterations that has happened throughout the past, the many genocides. I call them slaughterations. See? So submit that word into Webster's and pay me some royalties. Within the other colonies that became the United States, and that included the federal and state governments that constitutionally and statutorily supported the institution of slavery. The de jure and de facto, now we're getting into the fancy words. See, this is when I start getting excited. I start dancing around like that right here. It's right here. Let's get the de jure and the de facto discrimination against free slaves and their descendants from the end of the Civil War to the present, including economic, political, educational, and social discrimination, the lingering negative effects of the institution of slavery and the discrimination described in paragraphs, and of subdivision on living African Americans and on society in California and the United States. The manner in which instructional resources and technologies are being used to deny the inhumanity of slavery and the crime against humanity of people of African descent in California and the United States. Now, when you invoke the phrase crime against humanity, that's when your crime becomes retroactive. It doesn't matter what time in history, back to the beginning of time, that a crime occurred, it can still be paid to a descendant of the victim at that time. So this gives us free reign to sue Babylon. This gives us free reign to sue. Today I'm really kind of talking to Israelites. So it gives us free reign to sue, not sue. I hate suing. I don't sue. Me, I'm not a suer. You see, I don't sue. I don't sew. I'm not a sewer, and I smell quite well. Even the girl at the doggone Dollar General, she just said that. And she missed out on her opportunity because she said, that boy smelled good. Do I look like a fucking boy to you? No, no, no. That's incorrect, improper terminology. So, me being the God that I am, you're supposed to say, that God smells good. Then you have an opportunity to have a conversation. But me knowing that 99.9% of you are not virgins, then all you can get from me is a conversation. You see? The only thing that I'm attracted to are virgins over the age of 21-ish. You see? 21, 22, something like that. I used to be attracted to sluts, and I still am. But I'm consciously, purposely seeking what the Most High offered me multiple times. He offered me a super black virgin that was 25 years old going to seminary school. And then he offered me a, what type of Hispanic? Some type of Hispanic super fine virgin that was, what age was she? 25, 25. I'm talking about, this is when I was near that age. I was like 28. I was like 3 years older than these two ladies. You see? So he offered me those two people, and I didn't have game at that time. You know what I'm saying? I know how to have sex. I know how to talk to sluts very easily. You just tell them what to do and they do it. Or you got another form of slut who you have to act like you don't want them, and then they want you. But a normal woman that is protecting her chastity, I never was trained to talk to them. See what I'm saying? So we got to have that training in our society. We have to train our ladies to guard their chastity, and then we have to train our men to treat women with chastity greater than the slut. You see? So I mean, most Israelites already understand that. So that's just our culture. All right, so now the manner in which instructional resources and technologies are being used to deny the inhumanity of slavery and the crime against humanity retroactively. So I don't sue. That's the point that I was making earlier. And so since I don't sue, there's a process that's involved with law that is necessary to take place instead of suing. You just notify the people that you owe me, and then it happens every time. They got to pay. You understand? So they're not gonna deny you, because if that's why courts are in place. The courts are in place to prevent infinite murders, because there's always thieves around, and then there's always a guy who doesn't mind killing a thief. So courts were put in place to say, instead of killing them, I got an idea. Let's hold them accountable and get your property back double. Let's do that. Because you can't get money from a dead man. You see? That's why they put courts in place. You understand? So you got to use the courts. But Israelite culture tells you, don't use anything. Just be dumb all your life. Don't do a thing. You see? Don't learn the law. Don't learn how to use these things. Don't learn how to use the notifications and the procedures necessary to recruit the shit that you're screaming out in the middle of the road, saying that keyboarders are fags. Well, I mean, why don't you just come in this area, in this range here, like very close to me, like within 50 feet of me, and say that to me? Why do you always have to say it on your video device? That confuses me. You see, when I was running for my life on foot for an entire week for calling somebody stupid, and they pushed every button in their keyboard to get everybody to follow me around and try to corner me into a pocket and then take my head smooth off. When some guy was 100 feet from me and said, "That motherfucker's a faggot, oh motherfucker, shoot that motherfucker in the face." So it was so confusing, because if I were to say something like that, it's gonna happen right then. It's gonna happen right there. You feel me? So I don't understand why people say shit and don't do it. That's mind-boggling to me. You see what I'm saying? So that was the scariest week of my life. That was during the what's the name of that feast? Passover, unleavened bread. I had to observe unleavened bread on foot for an entire week. Yeah, because the Most High was punishing me. That's right. So I had to do it. And that was my punishment. And I willingly and lovingly accepted my punishment. You see? And I appreciated that chastisement, because he chastised. Let me show you that. You see, I appreciated that chastisement because, see, he chastised whom he loves. Chastise, love. Uh-huh. Yeah. You guys don't get chastised. You don't face any type of punishments for the bullshit all the kids that you kidnap and turn into adrenochrome. Well, you just gonna have to take my word for it that it's in there. The Most High chastises whom He loves. You understand? So It's in there. Just I can Google it right now and show you. But I just want to get back to the story. So that's how it works. The Most High adores us. So when you do something wrong, he don't want to see you lose your soul and end up an eternity in hell, because we only stay in this earth for a very short amount of time compared to our real life. Our real life is immortal, and so it just depends on where we're going to be living at. We're going to be living in peace and harmony in heaven, or we're going to be living in hell during our real lifetime. You see, our immortal spirit life. You see, so you don't want this. You don't want to choose hell. You don't want to do that. And I understand New Age understanding and stuff like this. There ain't no such thing as hell. Everybody goes to heaven. All dogs go to heaven. Everything goes to heaven. But you won't fool me. How? How can you fool me when I seen something that none of you have ever seen? I saw the wonderful Son himself. I asked him. He asked me, "Who do you say that I am?" I told him, "You are Jesus Christ. Everybody knows you." He said, "You have answered well." So I'm not miss me with your language, all that. You see, the Bible clearly says that the pure language is truth and sincerity. Miss me with everything else. As long as I'm telling the truth and I'm being sincere and correcting my behavior every second of the day, then that's how it works. You see, all this he don't exist, man. Fuck you. and the Bible's bullshit. Fuck you, man. You won't fool me at all. So there's no use even speaking to me and trying to convert me to stupid, because I'm not stupid. You see? Alrighty, let's get back to the reading. I apologize for my rantation that it happens often on these shows, but I get into these streams of thought like your boy say. And you know what I mean? The role of Northern complicity in the Southern-based institution of slavery. Not only complicity, but they were funding slavery because they were purchasing the goods the slaves were producing. The direct benefits to societal institutions, public and private, including higher education, corporate, religious, and associational. Recommend appropriate ways to educate the California public of the task force's findings. Recommend appropriate remedies in consideration of the task force's findings on the matters described in this section. Submit the legislator the report completed pursuant to section 8301.1 together with any recommendations. Article 2. Task force to study and develop reparation proposals for African Americans who are descendants of persons enslaved in the United States. 8301.1a. There is hereby established a task force to study and develop reparation proposals for African Americans who are descendants of persons enslaved in the United States. Task force is what it's going to be called from here on out. The task force shall perform all of the following duties: identify, compile, and synthesize the relevant corpus of evidentiary documentation of the institution of slavery that existed within the United States and the colonies that became the United States from 1619 to 1865 inclusive. The task force's documentation and examination shall include the facts related to all of the following: the capture and procurement of Africans. Yeah, that was a kidnap. The transport of Africans, that's trafficking to the United States and the colonies that became the United States for the purpose of enslavement including their treatment during transport. So that's human trafficking. The sale and acquisition of Africans as chattel property in interstate and intrastate commerce. The difference between interstate and intrastate is a trade between New York and Florida. Intrastate is within your own state, within the cities. The treatment of African slaves in the colonies and the United States, including the deprivation of their freedom, exploitation of their labor, and destruction of their culture, language, religion, and families. The extensive denial of humanity, sexual abuse, and chattelization of persons. I ain't trying to be nobody chattel. The federal and state laws that discriminated against formerly enslaved Africans and their descendants who were deemed United States citizens from 1868 to the present. The reason I'm doing my head like this is because I saw the funniest fucking video I've seen in a long time yesterday. It was a white boy that had some studio equipment, a keyboard and a mixer over here. And the mixer was also a recorder. And he had his laptop over here in front of the keyboard. And this dude was jamming his face off. He was kept doing like this. he was just making up beats and making up songs on the impromptu, you know what I mean, for like 25 minutes. It was like, I ain't got no fucking plan. I ain't got no fucking plan. It was hilarious, boy. Okay, anyway. The federal and state laws that discriminated against formerly enslaved Africans and their descendants who were deemed United States citizens from 1868 to the present. The other forms of discrimination in the public and private sectors against freed African slaves and their descendants who were deemed United States citizens from 1868 to the present, including redlining, educational funding discrepancies, and predatory financial practices. The lingering negative effects of the institution of slavery and the matters described in this section on living African Americans who are descendants of persons enslaved in the United States, which we call African Americans, and on society in the United States. Recommend appropriate ways to educate the California public of the task force's findings. 3, recommend appropriate remedies. See, a remedy is strong. We're gonna need maximum remedy or maximum cure and maintenance. You see, we're gonna need that. So just make sure you place that in your writing somewhere, because I like to hear that phrase. Maximum cure and maintenance. Well, that's admiralty court. You see. Remedy is just regular old land-based, oh, I'm just acting like a judge, even though I've never been established as a judge ever in my life. That's why I can't give you remedy, because I'm not even a judge. See? Then he run out, come back in, so I'm still alive. I've been waiting for you to get back, and I'm still living. Even around all these sheriffs, I'm still alive. The Most High is looking out for me. So now I'm gonna need maximum cure and maintenance for making me wait, nigga. You see how that works? This is just entertainment. Recommend appropriate remedies in consideration of the task force's findings on the matters described in this section. In making recommendations, the task force shall address, among other issues, all of the following. How the recommendations comport with international standards of remedy for wrongs and injuries caused by the state that include full reparations and special measures as understood by various relevant international protocols, laws, and findings. Now, would anybody be willing to tell me why the teacher used to mark your information wrong when they see state minimized like that? How the state of California will offer a formal apology on behalf of the people of California for the perpetration of gross human rights violations and crimes against humanity on African slaves and their descendants. Yeah, y'all gonna have a real hard time, bro, because LA LA police force is the most notorious police force in the country. Like their reputation is the absolute worst in the black community. When black people talk about the LA police force, the LA police force has the absolute worst reputation, period, hands down, period, point blank. You ain't never seen nobody eat on camera before? That's pretty tasty. That's pretty tasty. Got it's just exploding with flavor. All right. Well, where was I? How the state of California will offer a formal apology on behalf of the people of California for the perpetration of gross human rights violations and crimes against humanity on African slaves and their descendants. How California laws and policies that continue to disproportionately and negatively affect African Americans as a group and perpetuate the lingering material and psychosocial effects of slavery can be eliminated. How the injuries resulting from matters described in this subdivision can be reversed, and how to provide appropriate policies, programs, projects, and recommendations for the purpose of reversing the injuries. Now, I'm just curious, right? There's a mentality in the unconscious community of Black YouTube, right? That if a question is asked, there's no answer for any question. You see? So the moment that their brain sparkulates a question in their mind, then aha, I got you moment. I formulated a question and I said it. So therefore, you are defeated because I asked you a question. But in intelligent circles, questions have answers. So hopefully, the California legislator is not unconscious and think that by giving all these duties that they can't have that they can't not be answered. I hope that's not the case. Okay, you need to let me know. Somebody need to come reach out to me. A lot of people are already reaching out to me. I need you big boys to reach out to me because you're gonna have a problem with LA, and you don't even know why. You think LA is the most honorable organization in America. You see, because they train everybody around the country. You in for a rude awakening. How, in consideration of the task force's findings, any form of compensation to the descendants of enslaved Africans is calculated. These guys really think this is difficult information or something. Calculated. Calculations are very easy. So, gotcha. Niggers don't know how to count. Okay, so what form of compensation should be awarded through what instrumentalities and who should be eligible for such compensation. I think it's very clear that the United Nations defined who should be eligible for the compensation, which are the descendants of slaves. Uh, you understand? So that's why it's a worldwide debate right now, because it is they're defined as descendants of slaves in the diaspora of the entire earth. Those are the meek people that will inherit the earth. Uh, and when they do, they're going to have to inherit it from chariots, because psychos who psychopaths and sociopaths are going to do everything in your power to kill the people who rightfully own the earth. So the Most High is going to beam us up into chariots. It's got to, you see. And then once that happens, he's going to light the world on fire. You're dead. The only way you can avoid that is by not killing us. The only way, I mean, so that means any location that does not kill Israelites, any location that bows down on both knees with their face towards the earth and acknowledge real Israelites, will be preserved from destruction. Okay, didn't you understand the Noah Ark story? They were not killed. The 8 family members were not killed. The boat didn't take on any damage at all. The animals on the boat were not killed, even though the entire everything else was destroyed. So I'm telling you, man, all you have to do is bow down to the Most High, acknowledge your incredulities. You don't need to, because a lot of us are Jonah. I'm not Jonah, so I want you guys to repent. But a lot of prophets today are Jonah's children, and so they they want to see you die, and they want to see you burnt up, running around talking about I'm on fire. I'm on fire. Somebody put me out. That's what they want to see, because you spent your entire budget and sitting on our phones 25 hours a day listening to us, trying to figure out when we're going to take over something and blow something up. We are simply waiting on the Most High to destroy you people. But the problem is, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be trying to get these people to repent, you understand, so that they can be preserved and so they can live. You got to try to get them to understand that God is real, and all that lying and shit don't matter that they talk about with the evolution and all the rest of that stupidity shit, and that abortion is mass genocide. So you gotta understand, you gotta tell these people this information. You know what I'm saying? So, well, you tell Israelites that everywhere, and the other people will hear you telling the Israelites that, and that will cause some of them to repent. So if this happens on any local leadership level, any county leadership level, any state leadership level, any national leadership level, any international leadership level, like say for example, the president of the United Nations bows down on both knees and to the Most High and acknowledge who the real Israelites are. That entire body, because he's the leader, will be preserved from destruction. It's just that simple. I mean, and it's not difficult to do at all. It's difficult for you because your pride wants you to die. So your demon, the demon of pride that resides in you, wants you to die. That's what demons do. They get into your body and say, "Oh, I'm gonna kill you." That's what a demon does. So the demon makes you do things that cause your death. Back to the reading. How, in consideration of the task force's findings, any other forms of rehabilitation or restitution to African descendants are warranted, and what form and scope those measures should take. The task force shall submit a written report of its findings and recommendations to the legislature no later than the date that is 1 year after the date of the first meeting of the task force held pursuant to section 8301.2. I'll get you together in 1 month, saving you thousands and thousands of dollars and thousands of hours. I'll get you together in 1 month where you will have everything they asked for. You see? I can read it right now for you. You want me to do that? No. I'm only going to read those particulars to the leaders of everything, everywhere, that want to satisfy the orders handed down and want to be helpful in the reparations movement. Only to the leaders, directly, straight to the leaders. It's the only way I'm going to read it. And I'm not going to read it. I'm just going to hand it to you, and then you hand it directly straight to the governor. That's all you need to do. Because every bit of this is already answered. I told you I got a team that don't play no game. We're linked up with 600 plus African American Black associations, organizations, to include, but not limited to, the UNIA. I say that often because I was so proud when I met my first UNIA member. Let me not use the word proud. I really don't like that word at all. I was so happy when I met my first UNIA member. I said, now the UNIA member made me feel for the first time that now I'm actually working. Now I'm actually doing some work now. You see what I'm saying? Because now we're getting back to the bloody fists and the red, black, and green flag. That's a flag made up by big Unc. You know who I'm talking about with the UNIA and them boys. Big Unc. You know who that guy is. So I'm saying, when I met somebody in that legacy, like I was just wiping the sweat off my brow, like, phew. Oh, this is absolutely correct. All right and exact, nigga. See what I'm saying? We linked up with these people. See what I'm saying? So we getting work done, you know, all behind your backs. You see? And the leaders of everywhere respect us. You see? It's just, you know, I like to go around young people and so that I can keep young energy. You see what I'm saying? I'm a funny, I laugh at everything. I'm not funny myself. Well, I don't think I am, but everybody laughs at me. So maybe I am funny to them. and I'm not like Dave Chappelle, where if somebody laughs at me, I feel bad. Well, I do, yeah. I'm like, and that was a bold face lie right there. So I'll repent of that. Because I don't like being the butt of the joke at all, ever. Ever. You see? Well, you know, it's still funny at the same time. It's just you have uh, both feelings in your mind at the same time. Uh, Extreme, severe homicidal anger, and it's funny that you the butt of the joke because everybody's laughing. So it's like I'm just a jovial person. You see what I'm saying? I just like to stay on the funny side of things. I don't like to get into all that torture and all that stuff that y'all like to do. You see what I'm saying? The task force shall submit a written report of its findings and recommendations to the legislature no later than the date that is 1 year after the date of the first meeting of the task force held pursuant to section 8301.2 of this chapter. The report shall be submitted in compliance with section 9795. Article 3, the membership task force shall consist of 8 members appointed as follows. 2 members shall be appointed by the governor. 3 members shall be appointed by the president pro temporary of the Senate, and 3 members shall be appointed by the Speaker of the Assembly. B. Not more than 4 appointees shall be members of the legislature. And each appointing authority shall appoint not more than 2 members from the same political party. Let's see. At minimum, 4 appointees shall represent major civil society and reparations organizations that have historically championed the cause of reparatory justice. 3. Members shall be drawn from diverse backgrounds to represent the interests of communities of color throughout the state. Communities of color. I would say that's a poor choice of words, and that they should say interests of Black communities throughout the state. Have experience working to implement racial justice reform and, to the extent possible, represent geographically diverse areas of the state. B. The term of office for members shall be for the life of the task force. Damn. Well, I'll be. Whoa. Hold up. Who authorized that? Hold on. Good gracious. Okay. Well, you know, if you think that works, that's fine. A vacancy in the task force shall not affect the powers of the task force and shall be filled in the same manner that the original appointment was made. The governor shall call the first meeting of the task force to occur no later than June 1st, 2021. Huh, ain't that something? Why would you wait that? Why would you wait that long? You're waiting that long to see how the voting pans out, huh? I really, your tactics are so distasteful. It's annoying. 5 members of the task force shall constitute a quorum. The task force shall elect the chair and vice chair from among its members. The term of office of each shall be for the life of the task force. Who authorized that? For attendance at meetings during adjournment of the legislature, a legislative member of the task force shall be entitled to per diem compensation and reimbursement of expenses for not more than 10 meetings upon appropriation by the legislature. So if you don't know, you know, per diem is expenses, daily expenses paid. Okay, compensation and reimbursement. So if they don't have, if they spend over the per diem, then they lose what they spend over the per diem. 10 meetings, okay. Non-legislative members of the task force shall be entitled to per diem compensation and reimbursement of expenses for not more than 10 meetings upon appropriation by the legislature. Article 4, powers, A301.3A, for the purpose of carrying out the provisions of this chapter, the task force may do all of the following. Number 1, hold hearings and sit and act at any time and location in California. Request the attendance of and testimony of witnesses. Request the production of books, records, correspondence, memoranda, papers, and documents. Number 4, seek an order from a superior court compelling testimony or compliance with a subpoena. Why are you doing that? Seek an order from a superior court compelling testimony or compliance with in order to, hold these people accountable. Gotcha. Any 4B, any subcommittee or member of the task force may, if authorized by the task force, take any action that the task force is authorized to take pursuant to this section. 4C, the task force may acquire directly from the head of any state agency available information that the task force considers useful in the discharge of its duties. All state agencies shall cooperate with the task force with respect to such information and shall furnish all information requested by the task force to the extent permitted by law. The task force shall keep confidential any information received from a state agency that is confidential or exempt from the California Public Records Act, Chapter 3.5, blah, blah, blah. Article 5, administrative provisions. All right, so now I'm not going to read Article 5 to you. I don't want you to get any bright ideas. Now, your duty, should you choose to accept it, boom, 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 boom. So, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to go right here, copy that link like this, like so. Copy it, paste it into an email, paste it here, right here, paste it right here into an email, hit enter, okay, and then look up your city council, or look up your, no, we're gonna use this for the state, okay, North Carolina governor, like that, Roy Cooper, right? Okay, so he's one of the guys in the state that ruled the state that I live in. He's just one of them. So you're gonna find his information, right? Let's go like this. Let's change the search to Roy Cooper Twitter, right? Every last one of these legislators have Twitter fingers. Every last one of them. All right. So now you can go to Governor Roy Cooper, the latest tweets from Governor Roy Cooper, or you can go to his personal. So I will choose his personal like this, right? So I'm gonna look at it and make sure that it has the blue check mark. And it does have the blue check mark. Then I'm going to follow him. This is what you need to do. Anybody watching this video, go to do your state like this. Find your governor, and as many people until you get tired of them sending the shit to your leaders in your state. And because I'm pretty sure they've already heard about it, but they need to read it. And they read sometimes. So I'm not gonna diss them like that, because governor and state legislators are a lot smarter than some people. Okay, so you do like that, you follow the dummy, right? Then you go right here to the feather, the pen feather. You see the pen is mightier than the sword, right? Then you go over right back over here to the same location where you copied it before. And you go over here, back to this, and then you paste it into a tweet to these people. This is what I do all the time. And it's important for you to do this because then they're seeing interest from the people of his state that you want to see this replicated in your state. So it will behoove you to copy and paste the lesson from yesterday of Asheville and their resolution and send it to the state level. You see? Because they got it more figured out than California. California just wants to study the information. Asheville not only studied the information, but they resolved the information. That's what a resolution is. So they came to an agreement that all of this information is true, and we recommend these things. See what I'm saying? So you can send that to your state level as well, which I've already done the other day. So you tweet that to them, and they 9 times out of 10 they ain't gonna never respond, but they will get it. And their handlers and stuff, they get it and say, "Oh, you see this over here, Cooper? There's people actually paying attention in your state, and there's people actually engaging in the political system. Isn't that great?" You see, and so it motivates them to do what the people are requesting of them. I'm telling you, that's how it works, and that's just the easy way to handle things. So appreciate you listening. I'm gone, and I'm found. Once was rich, but now I'm found. Amazing grace. Peace to the fam. Love y'all.